What it is, my 10-0, Peace and Grease here. And today we're talking about the next primes for February 2020. So, given all the evidence that we have thus far, it's a really safe bet that our next prime is going to be Titania Prime, probably somewhere in February 2020. So, if you're wondering, how do I come to this conclusion? What evidence do we have? Well, the first thing is the Warframe release order. Now you can actually type that into your favorite search engine and it'll actually list all the frames in order of when they were released. So that's our first hint that the next prime should be Titania. Well, you may even see Neja on there and you may be wondering, well, why not Neja? Well, that gets into the second piece of evidence, and that is that DE normally primes frames 2x2, meaning 2 females, 2 males. Well, Neja, as DE has already stated, is male. So, given that we've had Ivara Prime most recently, we need a second female frame to be primed, and the next one up should be Titania. Now, the other pieces of evidence we need to look at is DE in the last dev stream is talking about a lot of the changes that they're making to Titania. So, if we kind of roll all this evidence up into a big ball and take a good hard look at it, yeah, it seems very, very, very likely that our next prime frame is going to be Titania. Now, I'm going to say right up front that Titania has never been a frame that I have used quite, a lot, very much at all, in fact. I've always liked the idea of Titania. Her 4 always had this cool kind of idea. I like her exalted weapons, the Daiwata and the Dexpixia. But the problem I have is that on one of her abilities where you're getting buffs, it's very coin flippy, very random, and I don't like that, particularly when you compare it to a frame like Wisp, where you actually get to pick the buff that you're going to get as well as your squad. Second of all, I really despise this ragdoll effect that some weapons and frames have. In this case, on one of Titania's abilities, you can actually ragdoll an enemy so hard that they'll just frickin' float away, and that has always bugged me. So I'm really excited. The changes that DE has proposed for Titania seem really, really, really promising. Of course, we won't know until we actually use her after, once she does get primed, I should say. But I'm excited to check her out if she is going to be our next prime. Now, the next big question you have to ask is, what are the next prime weapons going to be? Well, somebody out there, correct me if I'm wrong, feel free to put it down in the comment section, but if I'm not mistaken, when Titania came out, I believe around that same time the weapons, the Legion, the Pox, and the Sarpa also came out. Like I said, I could be mistaken on that. But from what I remember, Titania came out, and then also the Sarpa, the Legion, and the Pox came out around that same time. Like I said, I could be mistaken. I could be thinking before Titania or after. I don't really remember. But for some reason, those stick out in my head. So the point that I'm trying to make here is if you are sitting on, for example, a Sarpa Riven or a Pox Riven mod, which is a secondary, or even a Legion Riven mod, and you're thinking about scrapping them or you're thinking about transmuting them or even selling them right now, hold off for the time being. The reason I'm saying this is because, number one, the Legion was always a great melee weapon in the past. And I think with some of the current melee changes, the Legion can still be a great melee weapon. The Sarpa is a gunblade. And given the history we have with the Redeemer Prime, if you remember, that thing came in crazy OP off the freaking chain, powerful. So I'm hopeful that we may get a really good Sarpa Prime, for example, or a Legion Prime, or even the secondary, the Pox Prime. Now, if you're not familiar with the Pox as a secondary, the Pox is a weapon that is fan-freaking-tastic at stripping armor. So I would not be opposed to a Pox Prime. The big question in all of this, though, is what is it going to be? Are we going to get a Sarpa Prime or a Legion Prime or a Pox Prime? We don't know yet. We're going to have to kind of wait to see. I doubt very seriously we're going to get 2 melee, so I don't think we're going to get the Sarpa and the Legion. Is there a chance we can get a Pox Prime and a Sarpa Prime, or a Pox Prime and a Legion Prime? Sure, that's possible. The point is, hold on to those Riven mods, because if in fact Titania Prime comes out with any of these weapons I just mentioned, those Riven mods are going to go through the roof in value, and you can make a good bit of plat by selling them as soon as these primes release. Again, just some information to keep in mind and be prepared for. Now, obviously, I'm human. I make mistakes. I could be mistaken in this. But as I said, I'm about 90% certain that our next prime frame is going to be Titania. As far as your weapons, I don't know. I just kind of made an educated guess looking at the weapons that released around the time that Titania came out. But anyway, hopefully that helps you guys and gals out, lets you know what's coming, and can plan ahead with any of that information I provided. And let me know what you think down in the comment section. And until next time, peace and grease.